Hello, my name is Tara Powers. I am CEO of Powers Resource Center, and this is a very brief video to help you review your personal development report results before attending your upcoming workshop. So you want to make sure that you have your assessment results in front of you as we go through your results and a couple key things for you to do to make your workshop more effective. So go ahead and turn to page 2 of your results. And what we're going to focus on here is the 5 behaviors. And I want to introduce you to the 5 behaviors, which is a framework that was developed by Patrick Lencioni, who wrote the book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And I want to just briefly go through why this is so valuable for teams. When we understand these 5 behaviors that make teams cohesive, we can actually start to understand a common language that we can use with our team members to build trust, engage in healthy conflict and debate, commit, hold each other accountable, and ultimately get results. And so I want to just give you a very brief overview of the framework, which starts with trust. So of course, trust is the foundation of the entire framework, the 5 behaviors. If you don't have trust and team members don't genuinely trust each other, they don't feel comfortable being open and transparent. If they can't do that, then it is very difficult to actually move up the framework and commit to results and get the results that you want as a team. So trust is the foundation, and it requires us to be vulnerable and honest with each other. That leads to actually teams being willing to engage in healthy conflict and debate around ideas. And when there's trust, team members are more willing and able to speak their truth and engage in that healthy debate and conflict. When that happens, when people have an opportunity to be heard, when their voices can be heard, they are more willing to commit to the path forward, even if it's not a decision that they actually wanted. It wasn't the decision that they were hoping for. But it's so important that that trust is there so people will engage in healthy debate and conflict, and then be more willing to commit to whatever the final decision is. Once teams commit and we have the full commitment of all members, that means that all team members agree with the decision. They speak positively about the decision, even if it wasn't the decision that they ultimately were hoping got made. But that allows us then to also be more willing to hold each other accountable. So if there is genuine commitment, team members are more willing to hold each other accountable to results, which then leads the team to achieving results, not individuals achieving results. So that's the framework. And your assessment, what you're actually looking at and what you're going to be learning about is how this all relates to you. How do you build trust? What's important to you? What's important to you in terms of conflict and commitment and accountability and results. And so if you turn to page 3 of your assessment, this is going to give you an overview of how you answered the assessment in these 5 key areas of the framework. So on page 3, what's super important is that you read through kind of you and the 5 behaviors, and anything that you agree with, you actually put a little check mark next to. Anything that you don't agree with, you can put a little X, and anything you're not sure of, you can put a question mark. So feel free to actually pause this webinar and go ahead and read through your insights on page 3, checking off what you agree with, X's what you don't agree with, and question marks if you're not sure. All right, welcome back. So if you have started to process your assessment results, then probably on page 3, you've noticed what is important to you in terms of the key elements of this framework. So let's move on to page 4. And what I want you to pay attention to is at the bottom. So what is it that makes it easier for you to build trust with your team? And what I would like you to do is you can get a pen or a pencil or a highlighter, and as you read through what makes it easier for you to build trust, I want you to highlight or circle the things that are really important to you, because this is going to be something that you can share with your team members in your upcoming workshop. If I was working with you and you were able to share with me that this is super important to you and this is how you build trust, this is like the most important way, that's going to help me be a better team member. That's going to help me connect with you in a different way that maybe I never knew before. So super important to just hone in on some of these important topics for you. On page 5, what you're going to notice is that it's going to tell you information about why you may hold yourself back from actually building vulnerability-based trust. And when we talk about vulnerability-based trust, what that means is that you feel comfortable enough with your team to be willing to admit when you make a mistake, to be willing to say, I don't know the answer for this, or I'm not the best person to actually work on this task. Leigh-Ann is. So being vulnerable is really being able to feel like I can speak my truth, I can be honest and transparent, and my team members are not going to throw me under the bus or feel like I'm not an effective team player. So on page 5, what you're going to notice is that you probably have a few reasons why you might hold back being vulnerable. These are mine that you're looking at: not wanting to lose influence. So because of who I am, I like to be influential. I want people to believe me. I want people to think my ideas are worthy of considering. And if I'm honest, if I say I don't know enough about this, or I'm not the right person, perhaps I might hold back because I think I'm going to lose influence. It could also be because I don't want to lose a sense of control. I have a fear of disapproval, or I'm concerned about appearing weak. So if I look at these 4 reasons, which are specifically defined for me, right? Everybody's is going to be different. You're going to have some reasons on there as well. If I had to choose the one that probably holds me back the most, it would most likely be fear of disapproval, that I want to be liked. I do not want to admit my weaknesses or mistakes in case it actually makes teammates maybe not like me anymore. So if I had to choose the one that I think is the biggest driver for me, it's that one. And I think it's super important to share that with your team so that we can actually build more vulnerability-based trust when I understand you better. So that's something else for you to just consider. You can take a moment to pause this webinar, read through all of these reasons why you may hold back being vulnerable, and choose the one that really you feel drives that the most for you. All right, thank you. So if you move to page 6, this is going to be something you will do with your facilitator, but you'll really start thinking about what are some ways that you could put into place some good trust habits. So super helpful to read through this. This might be something that you define individually and as a team. So go ahead and read through that. But what we're going to look at next is conflict. So as I mentioned before, when there is trust, conflict on a team becomes nothing but the pursuit of truth. If there is trust there, then we are going to engage in healthy debate around ideas in the attempt to find the best answer. We are not in conflict with each other personally. We are debating debating ideas, and it's very healthy and necessary for productive teams to do this. So what's interesting though is how we engage in conflict looks very different. So it's super important that we recognize how we tend to engage in conflict, what triggers us, what kind of a debater are we. And so I am encouraging all of you to turn to page 8 in your assessment results. And again, you're going to pause the webinar here in a second, but at the bottom of that page, it is going to have some great information about how you contribute to conflict and what you find stressful in a conflict situation. And like we did on the pages before this, go ahead and check mark anything that you agree with, put a little X next to any statements that you do not agree with, and a question mark if you're not sure. So go ahead and pause the webinar and do that now. Okay, thank you. So one of the things you're going to be asked to do in your upcoming workshop is actually share what you find stressful during conflict and how you tend to contribute when you are in healthy debate and conflict, okay? You'll also get to do some exercises around your personal approach to conflict. So we're not going to actually do that right now because you'll do some polling with your team and we'll start to get to see where everyone is on your team and how they approach conflict differently. So those will be some things that you actually talk about. And then to round out your workshop, one of the things that you will do on page 10 is actually start to consider what do you need to do individually to build better conflict habits, and then what are you willing to do to put that into practice. And in your upcoming workshop, those are going to be the two topics in the framework that you're going to be focused on, which is trust and conflict. So I encourage you to read through the rest of your results, but those are the two that are going to be the most important and that your team is going to be, talking about and coming up with some action items around. I hope you enjoy your workshop on April 24th with Leigh-Ann, and thank you for participating in this webinar to get you prepared. Bye-bye.